we'll rip it off. Yeah, it's up. Yo, love that. What's up, brother? Just give me a second. As they say, one door closes, another one opens here in IRL, and that door that closes is on preseason. We saw some drivers taking a monumental step towards that World Drivers' Championship, and today it is no different. Welcome to Barcelona in the region of Catalonia in Spain for the first ever race of Tier 2 here in Intrepid Racing League. Today, history is to be made as these drivers look to push themselves all throughout a brand new season with a brand new calendar. One thing that isn't new, for some reason, is a commentary. For some reason, I've been fired and then rehired. I am GoldenSniper. I will be your one and only commentator for Tier 2 as we look to see who will qualify P1 in today's sprint. A couple of drivers already out on track. Exported Monk and Damien here in the Haas's. Damien obviously very confident showing in pre-season. Hello, Thomas. Nice to meet you. Sorry. Damien obviously very dominant in both pre-season races in that Haas, taking multiple wins and multiple poles as he won the pre-season World Drivers' Championship pretty much single-handedly for Haas and for himself. It's going to be an absolute cracking race here under the beautiful, sunny Spain. Catalonia is one of my favourite tracks to race up and down the grid. And I just hope to see these drivers will enjoy it as much as I do. As a couple drivers now already starting some of their outlaps as I quickly unscrew up my telemetry and everything else in between. Here we go. A couple drivers already invalidating as well. Exported Monk already invalidated his lap. But there is a couple of drivers still looking to push himself as the race comes near. First driver out is Foenza, or Focuenza, however you pronounce his name. I'm not the best on him. There is so many people watching the stream. I have not seen these many numbers since I last streamed on my own Twitch. I will be sure to have someone plug that at the end of the race or whenever I'm bothered. So a couple of drivers on the mediums, mostly on the softs, there is a sector 2 yellow flag. I think a Mercedes just went off as Focuenza comes to the line here on medium tyres. A 1:13.1 is a great time on the medium tyres, as I should say myself, as there is I wasn't going to say there was a Red Bull starting their flying lap, but it's just an out lap. There is someone coming out the pits. It is Impulse in the Williams. As you see, the other McLaren of Hunter going a 1:14.2. Decent time on the softs. We have DeWald 1:15.8 on the softs. We have Deathly Venom with a 1:13.7 in that Alpine. Brilliant drive from him so far. And Dan on the mediums, a 1:13.6. So a couple laps already in. Looking to set a benchmark for the sprint qualifying. As Damien sets a 1:11.8 on those soft tyres. That is an absolutely flying lap. And I must say myself, this man may not even be in the right category today. He is surely looking for a Tier 1 drive sooner than later. Couple drivers ready for some more laps here as we see Sean trying to get past. I believe it is the Wold. He might have impeded him a little bit. I'm not too sure. There may be something in the steward's office or in the paddock later, but that it seemed the Wold didn't really move out the way when it comes to leaving the space or anything. As Sparky sets a 14.05 on those soft tyres. Decent lap for Sparky himself and that Red Bull team. Sean, a 115.0, almost flat there. May have got a little bit faster time with the Walden and possibly impede him there, but nonetheless, we absolutely move on in the sprint qualifying. Still a couple of drivers yet to leave the pits, actually. Exported Monk did try to settle out, but he invalidated, and Drizzo coming out his outlap now. We're on board here with the other Sauber of Reverse Tom here in the third sector. Beautiful control of the car here as he comes towards the final corner. Not really using any ERS, which is a shock. But he has a DRS open, and he does set a 15.08, so quicker than his teammate by a substantial amount there. But you have to say it may have just been a cooldown lap. I'm not sure. He didn't really use as much ERS. So there's a caution sector too. I think it's just the Wold going slow. You may have low fuel, which is a bit worrying. As I've just seen at the top of my screen, Impulse, a 112.8 for the Williams team. That's great showing for the sole Williams driver. Some say Carlos Sainz, some say Alex Albon, but as far as I know, my goat is Nicholas Latifi. So Reverse Tom on an absolute fly here, burning all the ERS he can along the DRS straight in the second sector. Fastest second sector, I should say. He's 5/10 up on his time. This is going to be a great time for the Sauber driver. Coming across to the final couple corners. Coming along. He needs to burn that ERS. It's on hot lap. He's burning it as much as he can. Coming to the line. What will he get? A 14.6 is an absolute flying lap for that Sauber driver. And that is what the Sauber boys wanted to see all along. We have Drizzo now in Sector 2. Not set a time yet because he's in the pits. Probably making some last minute setup changes before getting out. Coming across now. Onto Sector 2, there is a Haas. Sebastian's flying lap. It's exported Monk, I should say, sorry. Starting his flying lap, but we cut back to Drizzo here along the last corner. Needs to burn a bit of ERS and get his DRS in tow. What time will he get? A 13.0. Pipping the McLaren on the mediums. I don't know why he's still on the mediums. He might be just pitting now. But a brilliant time for Drizzo, a 13.07. But still out in front, a 111.8 Damien, just an absolute machine. If you didn't catch the streams in pre-season, he dominated Bahrain and Australia. Had a bit of a moment towards the end with the man previously mentioned, Drizzo, in the actual race itself for Australia. But nonetheless, an absolutely cracking pre-season for the man himself. Most drivers now in the pits. There are a couple yellow flags. I think it's a Ferrari going slow. Drizzo, I wasn't going to say out of the fuel, but he doesn't seem to have it. Nothing really out of the ordinary. Maybe just having a bit of a slip for either driver. A couple the McLarens are out on track, and the Saubers, and I believe that is the Red Bull Sparky still out on track. And we have Exported Monk setting a time of a 1:13.6. Decent first lap there from the Haas. As we cut back to Drizzo on a fly. He's coming to the pits. Okay, that is my bad. We have Sean, who's invalidated his lap, but pulls out a 15.002. That's not the worst of times. But we have Sparky now on an absolute fly here. Can he do something better than a 1:14.0? Hunter goes up to a 13.8. He pips him for P8. Great showing again from that young McLaren driver. The Mercedes had a bit of a struggle to move out of the way there. Maybe both are in an outlap, but nonetheless, Sparky pushes on. A bit low on the IRS actually, but he seems completely fine with it. Coming around now to the start of, well, almost actually to the start of the uphill here in Catalonia. It's been a bit tricky with a winding turn here as he gets DRS in tow about now down to the next corner here. Beautiful showing using all that ERS. Needs to save a little now as he comes across to sector 3. Coming across the final couple corners here. What time will he put? He needs to beat a 1:14.0, which is definitely beatable for a driver with a caliber like Sparky. Coming across the line now, a 1:13.6 is a great improvement for that man, and he puts him to P7. There's a caution in sector 3. Hunter's gone a little bit off as he comes towards the pits. That's a little bit of a screw up on his part, and we have DeWald not improving on his time, so he might finish it last if nothing happens. There's a minute left here in this sprint qualifying, and the drivers definitely do want to get out. A couple, though, choosing to stay in the pits. They won't have enough. Drizzo will not have enough. Definitely Venom in an Alpine will not have enough. Hunter will not have enough, and Reverse Tom in the Sauber definitely won't have enough time to get another flying lap out. A lot of the drivers need to push themselves now. It's only a minute left, and it is only sprint qualifying, though. With a shorter race distance to the actual race if you've been following F1 and you're not a complete spaz. My apologies. And we're on board here with Frequenza in the McLaren. Definitely want to look at now. It's not many people thought the McLarens would be quick today, but this man is surely showing something. There's a caution in sector 1, and that is a Haas going off. It's Exported Mark having a moment in the first couple corners. And there is Sean spinning around on the track. He is on low fuel. Pardon? Damien has apparently said 2 purple sectors on this last lap. It is going to be another absolute flash. Sean has retired on track. He will finish P10 unless the results finish above. Damien flying, using every bit of that car. A 1:11.6 is the new fastest lap, and surely no one can beat that. Fokenza finishes in P3. Impulse now, what can he do? He's 3 seconds up. He won't improve. And that will complete your sprint qualifying for the first race here in Catalonia in T2. Damien with a 1:11.6. crushes the competition. Impulse in second here, coming into pits now with a 1:12.0. Frequenza in the McLaren in P3, a 1:12.5, and then Dan in the Red Bull in P4, 1:13.03, 4 hundredths of a second off Drizzo in P5. Then about 6 seconds behind, you've got Exported Monk in the Haas in P6. Sparky 4 100ths off in the Red Bull P7. Deathly Venom, almost a tenth off him in P8. Hunter, about 4 5/10ths off him in P9. Sean, looking at about 4 tenths in P10, and then 4 tenths again for Reverse Time in the Sauber. And at back of the grid, P12, it's DeWald with a 15.8, almost 4.2 seconds off the pole time. We'll take a quick break here as the drivers will get on the grid, fix their setups, and look to have a cracking sprint race here in Catalonia. Now, normally this is the part where I talk with my co-commentator about the sprint. Unfortunately, I will just have to talk by myself, as the man himself, Mr. Andrew, will be attending to other things, but I thank him for still hosting this session in a busy time for himself. He is honestly an amazing commentator, and the glazing will not stop. Someone's read it up early, but it is 5 red lights here in Catalunya for his sprint. It's lights out and away. We got Damien with a great start off the line here. Impulse just behind. Looking for something here. Damien leading the race here. A couple position changes up the back. Drizzo moving over to P3. Explorer Monk to P6. Just loses that position out too. He's losing a couple positions actually. He's off to P7. Explorer Monkey's dropped to Sparky. He's dropped to both the Red Bulls. Damien still flying out here in P1. Impulse behind, about 2/10 behind him. Every driver looking to be a little bit cleaner here, as that is Explorer Monk joining into P9 as well. A couple of lockups. You see the tyres really screaming already. The smoke puffing up every corner. There's a caution in Sector 2, and that is Deathly Venom has gone off. He's had a bit of a moment, dropping all the way back to the back of the grid. That is not what the Alpine boys want to see, and that's what I want to see, especially as a Pierre Gasly lover himself. Alpine to the back of the grid is something I've seen more than often this last season towards the start of the calendar. But nonetheless, I hope he has a great recovery drive. Fakenza has a moment as well. He's gone down to P6. Maybe a bit of a snap somewhere. But he's dropped down the grid. Damien with a 1:16.5 to start us off here on the second lap of this sprint. Everyone is vastly close here. Or some drivers in DRS range. Here we go. There's a caution in Sector 1. That is Sean going off in the Mercedes. I'm not sure what happened there, but Sean has gone off in the Mercedes. He's having a lot of trouble figuring the grip of that car. The soft seems to be worn a lot more than he expected. Maybe a bit of a moment towards the first 2 corners. There's another caution. There's the Haas of Exported Monk going off just towards Sector 2. What is going on with some of these drivers here? And still we cut back. Damien still in front by 3/10. Then we have Drizzo behind him. 4/10 off Impulse in P2. Still a couple of drivers looking to make position as Fockenza makes up P5 again to Sparky. Looking to get in Human Dan for that P4 spot after a bit of a slip up at the start. First 2 laps here. Lap 3 now. Impulse sets the fastest lap with a 13.8. That's a great time for someone on, I guess, race fuel pace. There's another caution, Sector 2 here. It is Sean going off yet again. He's gone off yet again, Sean, and that will put Deathly Venom in P11. There's a caution, Sector 1, 3-second time penalty for DeWald as his teammate Reverse Tom goes off the grid in the first corner. Hello, Mark. Welcome to the chat, mate. Sorry. As Reverse Tom gets past Deathly Venom, he had a bit of a moment with his medium tyres, but looking to make them work now as he gets up a position. There's a caution in Sector 1. That is again Sean going off into the gravel. 3-second time for Drizzo for track limits. Sean not having the best of races here, but it is only sprint. It is only a sprint. He still could have a great qualifying session, but for now, this sprinting is something he would love to forget. And the Mercedes team has just gone off again and hit the wall. He just seemed to floor it out of that final corner. He's lost his wing and he's retired on track. That is the first retiree of the sprint. Sean retiring in the Mercedes. As Impulse catching Damien. There is still a yellow. Sean his car is on track. As we cut to the back of the grid here, we have DeWald looking to catch Exporter. Goes a bit wide off the exit of that corner. Still in DRS. He still has a 3-second penalty, so he wanted to be a bit cautious. Maybe hoping the Haas in front of him makes a mistake and is going past. Maybe a big mistake. So he cements himself, I guess, into P8. but he's slowly losing time to that Haas as he looks to push away here. Damien, though, back, still up the front. Impulse, there's a bit of a swerve off the exit of that corner, and that'll put the advantage back to Damien here, coming up into the final corners of Sector 3. He's got some momentum here, Damien. He has got DRS in tow, and I think he's got more ERS than the Williams in front, as he just pushes that Haas back up into the top spot and back up into P1. Drizzo getting past Dan, but he has that 3-second penalty. He needs to push that car all he can on those soft tires. But Dan, like a fucking rocket, is absolutely flying in that Red Bull, looking to get past him and looking to stay in that 3-second gap for P3. Dan's on going up the inside now of Drizzo, but the move can't stick and Drizzo cemented. There's a caution in Sector 2. It's reverse Tom in the back of the grid. Back of the grid, reverse Tom has a moment, but we cut back here to the action. Dan is still there along Sector 2. They're coming across the DRS zone. Can he make something stick here? No, he can't. He has to concede the place. And that will put Frequenza in a small-ish position. He is 2 seconds off Dan, but he's in a 3-second range of Drizzo, so he will move a position as well if the results stick like this. But coming up to lap 6 now, Damien still in front by 2/10. Dan along the DRS zone, what can he do? Burning all the ERS he can, but I was going to say Drizzo's got more ERS, but Dan makes it stick. That DRS coming into touch about 20 kilometers an hour quicker than if he had nothing. Dan says, I'll have that place. Thank you very much. I don't care about your penalty. I can do it on track. P3 for the Red Bull driver. P3 for the Red Bull here as you cut. We still follow Drizzo and Dan. But a 3/10 gap from both of them. And a 3.6 gap to second place of Impulse, who's still catching the back of Damien. Dan had a bit of a moment coming across that corner, and they will put Drizzo side by side. And speaking of side by side, he's actually overtaken him again. He will have DRS too. He will get a little bit faster down the straight, and we'll get a little bit further down the track. There's a caution in Sector 2. Deathly Venom again having an incident. Deathly Venom and Reverse Tom having a moment. Both of them having a moment, and that's Reverse Tom, the Sauber, retiring. Exporter Monk a 3-second penalty for track limits, which that won't stop him anytime, so he will still cement P8. It seems Reverse Tom having some wing issues in his car. That's the result for him retiring, and that's his second retiree of this sprint. Only 8 laps, so in my opinion, there was no real need to retire. As we see, Impulse has overtaken Dan in the time I've just said everything. Those soft tyres for both drivers really being shown how much they can push it. Still a couple drivers on the mediums for Coenza. Both McLarens on the mediums and Deathly Venom at the back of the grid, also on the medium tyres. It seemed Reverse Tom had pitted on onto those mediums. They're having an incident on those softs, burning, having a flat spot. As we see Drizzo now, he's past Inhuman Dan, and Focanza is just behind him. He will drop a couple positions unless one of the two behind him make a mistake here. We come to Sector 3 now as it starts the last lap. Impulse is in front of Damien, but he will catch him with DRS. He's up the back of them in the Williams here, coming along around the outside, and that's a beautiful move for the harsh driver, moving himself back into P1 as Dan passes Drizzo on the straight. Brilliant move from the Red Bull there. We're going to fly away for P3, back to the front of the grid. Damien now 2 seconds in front of Impulse, as Focanza and Drizzo swap positions a little bit. Over here, there's a caution in Sector 1 and 2. That is, I believe it's Focanza going slow. Focanza may have had a moment and went wide. So that'll ruin his chances of a P4 finish, as he'll actually be catching up a little bit to Drizzo. We'll look back on him as Damien and Impulse still fighting for that P1 spot. Damien a little bit wide, so it'll leave Impulse with a bit of a better line here with traction as well. Coming across the final couple corners of Catalunya. Both drivers pushing themselves. Impulse will have DRS. He's up the back of him now. Burning all that ERS. Impulse got ERS, DRS, and Damien takes the win in the sprint here in Catalonia. Impulse a 10th behind in P2, and in P3, that man on stream right now, Inhuman Dan in the Red Bull. P4 Drizzer, even with that 3-second penalty. Fakenza still finishes in P5. Jan's teammate in the other Red Bull, Sparky, a great showing for him, P6. We have a Hunter here, P7, crossing the line. The other Haas, Exported Monk, had a bit of a moment in a couple parts of the race here. P8 finish for him. And we have DeWald crossing the line, even with a 3-second penalty. Will get P9 for that Sauber team. Points on debut. Sorry, no points because it's P1 to P8, I believe, for the sprint. P1, P10, sorry. P1, P10 is points here in IRL for the sprint, so he will get points on debut. That's a great showing from the man himself, looking to overcome whatever he can in that less than ideal Sauber, and Deathly Venom gets the final spot in P10 in that Alpine. Here we are now for qualifying. Back in Catalonia once again. A great showing from the harsh driver of Damien to get that critical P1 finish in the sprint. But Impulse in the Williams to keep up with him is great for that Williams team, and great to show that he's got the pace to beat some of the top drivers here in T2. Both of them, in my opinion, should be looking for a Tier 1 seat soon. They've got some great race pace and great qualifying pace to boot. Surely put some of the drivers on edge, and some of the team principals wondering how they can slot them into their plans. But as we come to qualifying now, we have DeWald, the first out in that Sauber. We're going to, I guess, use all of the track, get to grip with the track on these fresh set of soft tyres, put the temperatures up, and make sure everything is good to go. Also on track, we have Drizzo in the Ferrari, and we have Fakenza, or Foquena, I should say, on the McLaren. Impulse is all coming out in the Williams. And there's a Haas that's spun. It's Monk. Yeah. Mm-hmm. 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 Yep, gotcha. Yep, all good. All good. Right, chill. All good. Hey, brother. So we have a couple drivers out on track here. We're going to set fast laps in this qualifying session. A couple drivers still yet to leave the pits, but first to start their flying lap, I'm guessing, is that is DeWald starting his flying lap now. He was the first car to come out of the pits. So he will set the early benchmark for this qualifying session. We've got a bit wide off that corner exit there. Having a bit of struggle with the grip and the toe, I guess, of that car. His DRS now comes into play. Lovely DRS zone there. Fastest second sector, but of course, he is the first driver out, so he will automatically get it. A couple drivers on intermediate tyres. That is a bit worrying. But looking to just, I guess, save a set of soft tyres for the actual race in case the safety car comes up. But DeWald now coming across the line here, a 16.2, slower than his sprint quality time, as Fakana in the McLaren, the 1:12.6, and Drizzo with a 1:12.7 in that Ferrari crossing the line. A beautiful time for both of them. There's a caution in Sector 2. I think Sean's had a moment coming across the hill, the top of the hill in Sector 2. Bit of elevation changes are going to be a bit of a problem here as well. As Reverse Tom now to start on his outlap. Explorer Monk with a 13.6 and Hunter with a 13.4 for both drivers. Decent times to start us off here in qualifying. Couple drivers still on their outlaps, but we cross a Sean here who crosses the line at 19.6. He did have a moment, so he can definitely do a lot quicker than that. Impulse now. We have a caution Sector 2. That is a McLaren going off. Not something they want to see off the cooldown lap or in lap. Here we have Impulse now, looking to show what he can do. There's a bit of a lock up. You see the tyres a bit screeching and puffy. There's a caution in Sector 3. The McLaren, again, having a bit of a moment. Still no improvement on time for now for any of the drivers. But Impulse, what can he put on the board? A 12.1. That is definitely the time to beat. And in my opinion, the only driver who can beat him is Damien, who's still in the pits for some reason. But there's still 13 minutes to go here in qualifying, so he'll definitely be able to put a decent lap in. As you see now, Deathly Venom and Reverse Tom on their outlaps, as there is a Williams going slow. Impulse maybe a bit of a moment, unless he's low on fuel. Impulse is in fact low on fuel, so he will be needing to get out of the way. And there's a Mercedes having a moment at the final corner, looking to come into the pits. Maybe he almost missed the pit box. But Sean, yeah, definitely a lap to forget. He has lost his front winglet, so that's a bit of a moment. Maybe smack the pit wall. But yeah, nonetheless, we have a Sauber and the McLaren looking to set the fastest laps. For Kana, a 1:12.5 is a decent lap for him. And Reverse Tom with a 1:14.9, beating his teammate yet again in Tier 2. Maybe early showings of who's the top driver for that team. As he Deathly Venom along the last corner here. Flying with DRS, almost went off track here. And he gets a 1:14.4, decent lap for the Alpine. There's a caution in Sector 3, but that is Impulse going slow because he has no fuel. So 1:14.4 is a good lap for Deathly Venom. Puts him on to P6. As we see now, Reverse Tom on his flying lap. Going to push that car all he can. Can he improve on 1:14.9? I believe so. He's gone off track a little bit as soon as I say the Commentator's code's coming into play. But, yeah, I was going to say he would definitely improve in his lap. I definitely think he's got a little bit more in him than 1:14.9. But that slip up surely cost him some time there as he comes across the final corner. What can he put on the board? A 14.8, 700s off. So it's an improvement for him, but not as much as he wanted. He did have a moment, again, coming across the end of Sector 2. But still not a disappointing lap for the Sauber team. A couple drivers now on their outlaps. We have Hunter. We have Sean, Damien. Again, pole sitter and winner in the sprint and the race, respectively. Sparky and Inhuman Dan, both the Red Bull drivers, out on their outlaps as we cross now to Sparky, starting his flying lap, using all the ERS and DRS. There's caution in Sector 3, but that is Impulse going slow out of the pit. There's I believe there was definitely Venom coming out of the pit slow to let the other drivers through. Not to impede Sparky there, as Sparky now coming up to is the fastest first sector for Sparky. That's great for the Red Bull team here. Now to Sector 2 here, what can he do? A little bit easy on the brakes here. There's a caution in Sector 1, I think it's definitely Venom having a bit of a moment. But now the uphill change here. Flying in that long winding left-right. Even up more of a hill here, we've got the DRS zone coming into play, burning all that ERS. There's a caution Sector 2 again. Deathly Venom having a moment in that Alpine. It is on an outlap though, and Sparky goes wide there. He didn't invalidate though, so he will still fly on this lap. Coming out now to Sector 3, the last couple corners. What can he put? DRS detection point is in play now. 7th gear around the last corner. Great to show. What can Sparky do? He's a 1:15.1 as Sean in the background retires on track. He's at a moment in Sector 2. He's retired twice in he's retired in both qualifyings actually, and the race. So he will finish in last unless Damien and Human Dan do not get a time. But looking at how flying they're fucking going, they are definitely going to set a really quick time here. There's a caution in Sector 3 and Sector 1. Nothing really to note as of yet. But yeah, for now we will look on as Damien coming on his flying lap, almost on off track here. DRS in tow and a 1:12.2, 1/10, 18 tenths off. Impulse's caution in Sector 2. That is a Ferrari going slow. That is Drizzo going slow on his flying lap. Definitely would destroy his confidence as Dan, in the time I've just said that, P5 with a 13.05. So great laps up and down the grid here in Catalonia. It seems the host has left the session. Poor little Andrew. Obviously a great commentator himself. But we look to see what that will do for all the drivers. Maybe connection issues up and down the grid, I'm not sure. But for now, no one is leaving the session as of yet. Still, to the time to beat is a 12.1 by Impulse. But Damien, I think a tenth, almost 2 tenths off. Decent time for both as Damien here comes into the pits. 7 minutes left in this qualifying. There's a caution in Sector 3. I think it's just Damien going into the pits. And Dan, remember a moment coming into the pits, I won't cause the yellow flag. Maybe it was a slip. There's a definite caution in Sector 2. I'm not sure if that's, I think it's Sparky moving out of the way. And he may have moved out a little bit too late there as DeWald going off track because of it. He does invalidate his lap. I'm not sure that's because of Sparky or anything, but we have Impulse not improving on, it is his outlap though. I was going to say not improving on his time, but he just did have an outlap to test the car and everything. Low on a bit low on ERS though, that is the thing with that Williams driver. But as he comes across to finish Sector 1, there's a 21.5, 1/10 off his best time. So he's already looking to improve on his 12.1 sector time here. couple of drivers on outlaps. We have Reverse Tom, Fakana, and Drizzo, as well as Exhorter Monkey in the Haas. But we're still here with Impulse along the DRS zone now. A bit of weaving, so you might abandon this lap here, Impulse. Maybe a bit of a moment coming up the hill. But he's definitely going to abort this lap. You can see he's going quite slowly. This will just be another cooldown lap for him to get all that ERS back up into play. Coming across the final corner here. He's come back into the pits. He's come to the pits. There's 5 minutes left. I'm not sure what he's thinking at this current moment. But we have Reverse Tom on a flying lap. We also have Fakana on a flying lap and Drizzo on a flying lap here now. We just saw another, I believe it's the other Sauber coming out in a DeWalt, just coming out of the pits. So he will start an outlap on medium tyres. Definitely looking to save a set for the race. And there is, I believe that was Fakana just moving across to let him through. He will definitely pull this lap. As you see, his ERS deployment is on none, so he's just saving all of it to get a quicker lap in with a full ERS tank. No one yet to get a time in. Damien, I think he was on an outlap, so that time didn't really matter to him. But Reverse Tom starting a flying lap as well, coming across here to the end of start of sector 3. We have Sir DeWald on an outlap, but Drizzo behind him is on a flying lap, so he wanted to get out of the way. That Sauber, and he almost forced him wide. He was that inept that there was a car next to him. He almost forced him wide, but Drizzo with a 12.5. That's a decent lap. There's a caution in sector 1, and I believe it is a Sparky. She's letting drivers through, and Drizzo letting drivers through, as Fakana here on a flying lap. It looks like Exporter Mug not really improving on his time. 13.4 is definitely a time to beat. Sparky, though, may have at a moment, or he's just letting other drivers through here in start of sector 2. He's going wide, but Damien with a 1:11.9. That will put him on provisional pole here in Catalonia. There's another yellow flag, but I think it's just Sparky going slow to let drivers through. He is on an outlap, so he might need to move very quickly. A couple other drivers setting times. Reverse Tom, 5/10 up on his time. He won't improve. DeWald, 0.03 of a second up on medium tyres, I should say, coming across sector 3 now. He will be the next driver to cross the checkered flag, burning almost all his ERS before he even gets to the line. That's an interesting strategy. He's 4/10 up, and there is a McLaren in Fakana. He's 2/10 in front of his best time at 12.3 is a decent showing for the McLaren team. And Sparky 1 second up on his time with a 13.9. Great showing for the Red Bull driver. See Drizzo now crossing the line. What did he do? He's just in a flying lap. That is my bad. But we do have there's a moment. I was just about to cut off for him, but Reverse Tom's at a moment coming off sector 3. He's reset the track. I'm not sure if that's allowed here in IRL, but we'll have the rulebook out in a second. Well, I should say the end. But he's definitely had a moment coming up to sector 3. And that is not what you want to see for the Sauber team right now. They will still get a position up on Sean because he did retire in that Mercedes. A caution, sector 2. If I just check myself, I think that's, is that Drizzo going slow? I think Drizzo is going slow. He is on low fuel, Drizzo. He's got low fuel on. So, that's going to be a definite worry for the Ferrari boys, under-fueling in qualifying. That's not what anyone wants to see here, as Fakana retires in the pits. He's done all he can here. P3, visual P3, I should say. Great qualifying from him. as Drizzo slowly makes his way back into the pits. We have a Red Bull about to cross the line here. It is Dan. I'm not sure if he improved or not, but there is still a minute left to go. Damien in the pits. He's done all he can with a 1:11.9. A great lap from him to beat Impulse, who is on a flyer now, using all the ERS he can. He is 4/100 top, and Drizzo's retired in the pits, so his qualifying will be over. Provisional P4 for Drizzo as Impulse looking to beat Damien's time. He was, I think, 4/100s up, 4/100s behind his time here. Almost going off track here. What can he pull at the back? He won't beat Damien's time, and he won't beat his best lap. A 12.3 is not what that Williams wanted to see here, and that will put him into P2. I believe Hunter is just about to start a flying lap here in Catalonia. 1 second. Excuse me, I thought I was going to sneeze. So, yeah. Damien and Impulse P1 and P2 for the race here in Catalonia. A couple drivers finishing their laps. Dan finishing with a 12.6, improving very well on his time here as he finishes qualifying. Hunter, 5/100s up on his time, so he's not going to improve unless he pulls something monstrous here in sectors 2 and 3. But we cut back to Deathly Venom. He will not improve on his time. I think that's just a cooldown lap to finish him to boot. P7 finish. Provisional P7, I should say. Cut back now to Impulse, but he has invalidated his lap, so he will finish P2. Impulse, he will P2 finish for Impulse. I put Damien still provisional P1 unless one of these drivers can pull a stonking lap out. Hunter retiring in the retiring, coming into the pits. Sparky will not improve in his time, so he will come back into the pits as well, and that is qualifying done and dusted for the race here in Barcelona. Damien once again in a pole position with Impulse behind him by 0.2 of a second. As for Kana, yet again in a P3 spot, Drizzo P4, Dan P5, Hunter in P6. The only Alpine on track, Deathly Venom P7. The other harsh driver, Exporting Monk P8, Sparky P9, and the two Sabres up the back, P10 and 11. Versus Tom ends DeWald. And the only retiree early on in qualifying, Sean in the Mercedes P12. And the drivers coming back into the pits. There is your qualifying times done and dusted. So now as we look towards the race and what will happen here in IRL for the first inaugural race in Tier 2. There'll be a 2 or 3 minute break, so make sure to stick around. As we are now waiting for the drivers to come out. The race has turned upside down. It seems Mother Nature has seemed to have a control in this race now here in Catalonia. It seems to be absolutely belting down here after qualifying, and that will put a lot of drivers at unease here. Some may not have wet setups to combat this. Maybe the thing is a dry round all across, but someone has read it up really quickly here. As the lights 5 red lights are up here, and it's lights out and away we go here in Catalonia. Damien, still a great start. First corner, still P1 here. The rain is absolutely belting down here in Barcelona. Exporter Monk in the back, having a bit of a moment on those tyres. As the first corner, nothing seems to be as of issue as of yet. But Sparky up the back, and 3 drivers already lost position. Sparky, DeWald, and Sean in the Mercedes, all having a moment themselves up the back of the grid. That is not what those boys want to see here. Already on lap 1. But we got back to the top here. Damien still out in front. 2 to 3 tenths in front of Impulse here. As he comes across the second sector. Bit of an earlier braking zone because it is extremely wet here on the track. The wet seems to be coming into play as Impulse and Damien fight side by side, and Impulse gets the move done on Damien and looks to floor him immediately. And there's Dan trying to make a move on the McLaren, but he doesn't make a stick. And there's maybe in contact a little bit from both drivers as Dan moves on to P3. Dan moving on to P3. Great move there from him. Hunter's had a bit of a moment as well. He may have actually ghosted. I'm not sure if he's had an internet connection issue or something. He may have desynced. There's a bit of a slip there from Sean coming out the corner. Impulse even fast level 131.9. As you see, the possible tyre shredded. He's coming with 3 now. Wets all around. So it looks to be a wet race towards the end here, unless Mother Nature takes its course and promptly leaves for a dry track. But for now, lap 2, Impulse is storming out here in front. Damien 6 tenths off. And we'll have Dan to boot just behind him. Dan in that Red Bull. As he cut across to him now, you can see just how close these drivers are. It looks to take a bit of the inside line as Damien goes a bit wide off that corner. He's a caution in sector 2. That is a Sauber of reverse Tom going off. He's gone off on one of the corners of sector 2. That is definitely demoralising for that Sauber driver there. Back of the grid in lap 2. But there is still a long time to go. He could do an undercut with the tyres. I'm not sure how long those wets are going to last though on one sector. As Damien and Dan almost swapping positions here. Coming up to the end of sector 3. You can see Impulse out in front by a second to Damien. As you watch Dan have a way better exit off that corner. Both drivers have a bit of a slip though. Impulse at 127.8. Great lap on the wet tyres to him. As you start lap 3 now, Impulse still out in front by 1.1 seconds. As he cut, he's still Dan fighting that harsh driver of Damien. Slowly gaining time. He had a much better exit. Much better traction at the exit there. He's now the back of Damien, who goes a little bit wide. Takes a bit of a wider line here. Trying to catch Impulse in front. Obviously, there is no DRS in play because he is extremely, and I say it, extremely soaking wet. Like your woman after Valentine's Day. It is absolutely pissing down. Damien again having another moment as Dan looks to push forward on those wet tyres. This seems to be the only real battle here. As he got to Deathly Venom finding the other half of Exported Monk for P6. Similar gap between these two than Dan and Damien. As this will be another battle we will look on for. There's a caution in sector 2. There is Hunter going off. Hunter's gone off in the same spot as Reverse Tom went off. So that corner seems to be proving a lot more difficult than the drivers had thought. As you cut now to Impulse in front. Lap 4 starting of 23 here. Another fastest lap at 27.2 on those wet tyres for the Williams driver. As you come now here to Dan in P3. Dan in P3 still catching that Haas in front of Damien. Who's only losing a bit of time to Impulse now. Definitely one or two drivers here suited for the wets, it seems. Impulse flying away in that Williams. Damien seemingly not catching up but quick enough as he wanted. And that'll put Dan in a great position here to pip him maybe in one or two of these laps. As you see, Dan taking the corner very well, but so did Damien. So they're both in an even playing field here. But as I say that, Dan is catching up a little bit. Damien had a bit of a moment coming off the curb. And there's another one for Dan coming off the curb as well. Both the drivers having a bit of a slip on the curb, coming across Sector 2 into Sector 3 now. This is definitely the battle to watch. Two amazing drivers. Dan had a little bit of snap just there. Also, maybe a bit of wide ones tip the grass, I should say, coming off the exit. But nonetheless, he's still in this race and still looking to catch that Haas in front of him. As you come to lap 5 now, Impulse still out in front. A 1:27.0 for Impulse, setting fastest lap after fastest lap. That Williams is flying in these wet conditions. Going across to more the back of the grid here. Deathly Venom has got past Damien's team out of his Sport and Monk, but he has a lot better exit and a better traction than the Alpine. He puts himself back into P6, but we'll have to be wary of that inside as Explorer Monk loses that position into Deathly Venom with a great little dive bomb, but he compromises the exit out of turn 3, so that'll put Explorer Monk back into contention here. Goes a bit wide as well, maybe leaving a bit of room for that Haas, but the Haas have to concede the position nonetheless. Explorer Monk moving down to P7, but there seems to be a battle here with the Alpine, as these two are going to fight a long battle here in the wet Catalonia. Coming to the back of the front of the grid, reverse time, a 3-second time penalty for track limits, and Damien has simply caught up to Impulse in a rapid pace. Maybe Impulse had a little moment when I was covering the Alpine Haas battle up there near the middle pack. As Damien now, if DRS wasn't so, he'd be absolutely flying, but we'll have to use all of that ERS he's got, using as much as he can to catch that Williams. He's catching up pretty quickly, Damien he is, but nonetheless the road closes in rather quickly, more than he wanted. He wanted a bit of extra room, and that'll put Impulse in a great position to fly away. He's already made up 7/10 Impulse. He's already still a sizable chunk out in front here, but Damien's slowly closing in. He's closing into 6/10 as Impulse, you can see just in front of me, dipping his tyre into the grass. That will not do well for the Williams. They don't have a slip as well coming out the exit, and it's Sport and Monk has passed Deathly Venom for P7, but it looks to attack him still in the middle pack of the grid as you still watch Damien along here. Dan seemingly out of DRS range if we're still there, 1.1 seconds behind Damien for that P2 spot. Damien still now looking to catch that Williams. Had a bit of his moment in front of him, the Williams again. So they'll put Damien in a good position here for the last couple corners. The dry line is forming though, so has the rain slowed down a little bit? Coming out to lap 7. Does Impulse set another fastest lap? No, he doesn't. So Damien now 1 second behind, slowly gaining on him with all that ERS in tow. Damien now 8/10 behind the Impulse in the Williams. There's a couple other drivers not really having much battles. We cut back to Deathly Venom. We're going to catch back up to Explorer and Monk as Sparky moves on to P8 because Sean has decided to come into pits on lap 7. That is a bit odd. Pitting so early. And he's on into tyres. When the track is absolutely belting down with rain. There is a dry line forming though, because the car's flying down that line. But I don't think the inters are going to be quick enough. As we see Sean coming out the pits here now on those inter tyres. He has stopped in this race, so he's done his mandatory pit stop. You can see just how much traction loss he gets with those fresh inter tyres. He's slipping so much I don't think that was the right call. He's already lost 6 seconds to reverse Tom in P10. But new regulations have come into play here in IRL. Originally it was P1 to P15 to get points. Now it's P1 to P12 for points here in IRL for Season 3. And all the drivers here will score points unless they DNF. Damien with a 126.7 really catching up to Impulse in that Haas car. Via Sean here, seemingly the strategy has gone all wrong as he takes another slip in those inters. That is surely a big mistake from the Mercedes team. I don't know who made the call. I don't know if Sean made the call or the team made the call to try something different, but that is definitely the wrong strategy here in Catalonia. Damien now almost a second off Impulse in front. These two are going to be fighting a long battle, but behind them, Dan about a second off, and behind Dan, you've got Fakana in the McLaren, all within a second and a half of each other. The battle for the top 4 is ramping up, and there is Hunter having a moment at the end of Sector 3. The yellow flags are shown for a brief second. Not about a slip coming out the final corner, but not a race to remember so far for Hunter in that McLaren back of the grid on the wet tyres. Every driver still on the wets, still on used wets apart from Sean, who is still on fresh inters. Impulse a 126.5, beating Dan's fastest lap here. So far, clean driving from everyone here in Barcelona in this inaugural Tier 2 race. Only driver really to have a moment would be reverse Tom with a 3-second penalty. Drizzo now coming into the pits. Drizzo is coming off those wet tyres. There's a moment in Sector 3. I think that's Exported Monk going a bit slow. Definitely having a moment, and definitely he's lost 2 positions actually. He lost to Deathly Venom. He's lost to Drizzo, who's just coming out of the pits. And again, those inter tyres as Sparky moves up into P6 in front of him. Had a little moment there, Sparky, though. So Drizzo, he may make those inters work. There are fresher tyres, but the wets seeming to have a bit more traction. As I say that, Drizzo moves past Sparky, so he's one to make those inters definitely work. As Exported Monk in the back of Sector 1 having a moment on those wet tyres, slipping everywhere along the track here. And that puts both Saubers, P8 and P9. But reverse Tom will have that 3-second penalty looming along his head. He will need to gap the drivers behind by a considerate amount. Only driver still to get a penalty as Fakana in the pits now in the McLaren. He does have a sizable gap to Deathly Venom though, as Drizzo did take up that P6 spot, but now that McLaren is pitting for, I believe, his wets. He's pitting on wet tyres, so he's chosen the second set of wets here in his strategy. Will that work as DeWald, the second Sauber, gets a 3 seconds for track limits? Both drivers are going to be a bit cautious now, as Exported Monk behind them gaining on time. Drizzo now a 3-second penalty for corner cutting. There's another driver in the bad books already, as he seems to have a little moment there as well. Those inters may not be warm enough yet. He did overtake Sparky though, so maybe it's just needing some more temp in those tyres on the inters. As you cut back out in front, Damien still chasing the back of Impulse. As you come to the start of lap 11, both driving a bit of a moment on the final corner. Impulse trying to get as much lower temp in those tyres. You can see him taking off the dry line onto the wet line there. Just trying to stop the overheating of those tyres. Both drivers actually went on the wet line on the the straight. As Impulse had a bit of a snap. He's snapped. He's had a bit of a moment on the other curb, and they'll put Damien back into P1. That Haas driver is definitely one to look out for, coming into Tier 2 and coming into possibly having a seat opened up to him in Tier 1. There are a couple of drivers who may have had their last races last season in Tier 1. I'm not going to say who, because I do think a couple of drivers do have to have a terrible race to stop. As Hunter again goes off track in front. That is not a good race for him and the Willie and the him and his side of the McLaren garage. As blue flags are definitely going to be waved here for Hunter. You can see Damien passing him and the Williams of Impulse lapped. The first driver lapped here in Tier 2. It will go down to Hunter in that McLaren as Damien now pits off those wet tyres. I'm not sure if he's going to do the second set of wets here, or is he going to try something different as Dan moves up into P2 due to the Haas pitting. What kind of tyres will Damien put on? He puts another set of wets. He thinks it's not dry enough for the inters, like Drizzo and like Sean, as DeWald also pitting on the inters just this up as well. I didn't quite catch that, but DeWald also pitting on those inter tyres. I see Damien coming out of the pits here. A couple drivers still yet to pit here are P1, P2, that's Impulse and Dan. Definitely Venom in that Alpine P5. Sparky, Explorer Monk, and Reverse Tom still yet to pit. And Hunter still yet to pit up the back of the grid though, as he looks to, I guess, just salvage whatever he can here. He still will get a point for finishing in last place. But he does have a moment coming off the end of Sector 2 to Sector 3. That corner really bringing a struggle for some of the drivers here. Yeah, so we have the Sauber or Reverse Tom coming into pits, Explorer Monk coming into pits. He's just pitted for new wets in front of DeWald, who's on the inters. I'm not sure which driver are going to have the better line. For now, it looks like it's Explorer Monk as Hunter gets a 10-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane. This race is getting from bad to worse for the McLaren driver. He's already been lapped on lap 11, and he's pitting for, I believe, that is another set of wets on Vakana. Fastest lap, a 1:26.0 in that McLaren, as Damien comes back out in front. The undercut has worked for Damien, but Impulse is about 5 seconds behind him. Both drivers on fresh, wet tyres. Vakana behind him on a slightly more used set of wets, as Explorer Monk gets a 3-second penalty for track limits. I see Deathly Venom now into the pits. He's what kind of tyre will he put on? He's coming out of the pits now. He has put on a set of inters for the rest of this race. And that will... He might go towards the end on them, unless there's a big moment towards the last 10 laps here in a very wet Barcelona. We have out in front still Damien in P1, Impulse behind him. These two have been battling ever since the word go in the sprint qualifying. These two are definitely going to be wants to be. Impulse, though, he is just a reserve driver, I believe. I don't think he's an actual Williams driver for Tier 2. I will double check that just really quickly. Love the comments in the thank you Kazu if you're watching. A couple people having a nice little moment. As I'm going to keep saying they have a moment. Shut up. I don't care what I say in commentary. Actually I do care. I'm going to lose my job rather quickly. But lap 14 here, Damien still in from 1.2 seconds to Impulse in P2. No one having a big moment apart from Hunter, who has been lapped, and both Saubers having a moment towards the side of the race here. But if I can just double check the lineups for this season, Impulse is a reserve driver for Williams. So he's got a lot of pace for a reserve driver. The Williams TP of Endenville definitely sticking with Aaron and Cry who are in tier 2, but Impulse definitely is one to look out for. Maybe a tier 2 or a tier 1. Both drivers, Damien and Impulse, definitely got a lot of pace for this division. As I believe I just saw Explorer Monk getting another. It's a reverse time, another time penalty, and it's Dan with a 3-second time penalty as well. So will that compromise? It won't compromise his position as much, but he is still up the back of that McLaren in front as Damien sets a 125.2 on those wet tyres. As he comes to lap 15, Drizzo with another 3-second penalty for corner for track limits there. So track limits are going to come into play. Those penalties are going to sort the grid out a little bit here. Not as much for Dan if he does get past Vakana for that P3 swap up for now. He will settle for P4. Drizzo will still stay in P5 if the results come this way. But back of the grid will be a bit of a switch up here. Hunter and Reverse Tom will stay in their P11 and 12 positions respective. But if DeWald can catch up to that Haas, and then Haas has another moment with another track limit penalty, DeWald, as you just saw there in front, Sean had a bit of a snap coming out of the last corner. As I was saying, DeWald could be looking up to P9 if he pushes the car enough, but that is a one for later in the race. Damien still out in front by 1.3 seconds, 1.4 now on those fresh, wet tyres as Impulse looking to catch him up. The time is still fluctuating 1.3, 1.4 seconds, so Damien is keeping rather consistent. He's goes a bit wide now, Damien, coming out the corner exit. Damien's seeing a 125.1, but Impulse beats it with a 125.03. So about a tenth difference there in the fastest laps of the first, for the top two drivers, I should say. As we see lap 16 here in Barcelona. Damien taking a bit of a wider line there with a bit of wetter line as opposed to the dry one on those wet tyres here. As Damien still out in front, taking his own recreation of the line, flying through that lovely double S, or I should say just single S, because left and right. But here, that man is the one to beat for this season. That Haas driver has a lot of pace. As a caution in Sector 3, that is Exported Monk going off. He's gone off, and did he hit the wall? It doesn't look like there's a winglet. There's an end plate damage on the right side of that Haas. So he's had a massive moment coming out at the end of Sector 3, where the chicane usually would have been, but the layout did change in the last 2-3 years where the chicane is no longer in play. So it's definitely a bigger moment than he expected, but not that much damage though. Maybe a tiny bit of front wing damage on the right hand side and winglet end plate damage, I should say, for that Haas driver, but he still cements P10 as a caution in Sector 2. That is Sean having a moment off the exit, maybe dipped his tyre into the grass. He loses his position to DeWald in P8. It's a great race there for DeWald in that Sauber. Give me some. Oh. So DeWald in the Sauber in P8 currently as he cross now to Sean. Sean 5.5 seconds off of the Sauber driver of DeWald. He needs to get his gain. So he needs to get at least 2 seconds to at least pip him to P8 because he does have that 3-second penalty limit. So there's a caution in Sector 1. That is a Hunter, I believe, going off up the back. Hunter has gone off yet again up the back of the grid. He has been lapped by Drizzo. That is not what you want to see. He had a bit of a moment now just coming out that corner. a bit of a snap of a understeer. The car is not wanting to turn a lot. But yeah, definitely a race to forget for Hunter. Still getting a point though in P10, the last points position. Now lap 18, using that wetter line to disrupt the slipstream of Impulse behind him, and again just using that wetter line to cool the tyres down. Exported Monk has left the session now. He's in P10 in the other half. I don't know if I have him added. That is unfortunate that he does have to leave early. Here, the desync showing his play as DeWald gets a 3-second penalty again. So that will put Sean back into P8. He's 3.7 seconds off DeWald in that sour. So that will put Sean in P8 as for now, unless DeWald has a race of his life in his last couple laps here. Some drivers still clean. There's a caution in sector 3. That is that DeWald going off? That is DeWald having a moment. So that puts Sean back into P8. That Sauber, he did complain a bit about the Sauber handling. Both Saubers complaining of a I guess it's the wing settings, and yeah, just not a good day for both Saubers when it comes to, I guess, racing wise. Reverse Tom did say that he feels extremely slow on the Sauber driving wise, but they will still get points in P9 and P10 for now. Explorer Monk still at 3-second penalty, so that will put DeWald keeping P9 for now, because he's 4.2 seconds off with that 3-second penalty. I'll bring to 7.9, so I'll put DeWald a second in front of Explorer Monk. But he's catching him a little bit here, DeWald, as he looks to be lapped by Damien in the heart. He's finding a bit of Damien, but he's ghosted. A bit of a snap on the curb coming into the entry of that corner. But he's still finding that Haas in front of him. He's not wielding to the car behind. There's a caution, sector 2. There's 2 cautions, actually. I believe Sean had a little moment, and Hunter, again, up the back of the grid, having another moment. That is definitely a race he wants to forget for the McLaren team. The back of the grid and being lapped by the top 5 is not how he wanted his debut to start here in IRL. As you come back to the front of the grid, Damien 2.2 seconds off in front of Impulse, I should say, as DeWald has to take a wider line and go off track a little bit to let Impulse by. Drizzo gets another 3-second penalty, and that will put Deathly Venom into P5. As Drizzo having a bit of a moment coming out of the exit, having a bit of a moment straight as well, weaving a little bit. Yeah, don't know what to say. Tight exit there from Drizzo in that Ferrari. No one really close to each other as of yet, or still within 2 seconds. The gaps are starting to form here. We cut back to Damien, who's now looking to lap Sean in that Mercedes. The Mercedes does pull off the side. He slipped, coming back onto the track, and that is Sean having a moment whilst trying to rejoin track, and he does have to let Impulse by as well. He's not looking to let him by as of yet, though. Sean having another snap coming off the curb. And there is Impulse going by Sean in the Mercedes. As we come back now, no one really close. The gaps are forming. 2.6 seconds, the closest gap is it's Impulse to Damien, 2.6, 2.5 now. Damien almost at a bit of an understeer there, coming on the corner. Reverse Tom with another 3-second time penalty for our track limits. So 2 drivers currently with 9-second time penalty. Drizzo in P5, but he will cement that position. But there is a moment, Hunter again in Sector 3 as he let Deathly Venom past him. I'm starting out lap 22 here, the penultimate lap. Oh, sorry, I should say it's not the penultimate lap because I thought that was a fucking pit straight. That's my bad. I don't know the track, even though the track map is right in front of me towards the left bottom. I mean the right bottom corner. I can't really get my directions right here. I'm talking that much, I might as well talk my ear off. Here we are now on the pit straight. Thank you, pre 20 seconds ago, me, for having a bit of stuff up. As Damien leads this wet Barcelona, Catalonia, Circuit de Barcelona, Catalonia Grand Prix. I'm talking so much again, I need to stop. Let me compose myself. Damien here leading on lap 22, 2.9 seconds in front of Impulse in P2 and Fakana in P3, 2.4 behind the Williams. That looks to be your top 3 for now, unless something does happen. There won't be any safety cars because there is still 1 lap to go. There won't be enough time for the safety car to go around on an actual lap and then leave. That'll be the end of the race, done and dusted, because the game doesn't like coding realism. Thank you, EA and Codemasters, for that. Damien now coming across Sector 2. Looks to be flying in that Haas. As the gap behind does slowly tick up. Impulse's tyres may have been a little bit more worn than he wanted. 3.2 seconds now for the Williams behind the Haas of Damien. As you know, Fakana 1.8 behind. He's losing a little bit of time to Impulse. As I say that, he's just chunked out 3 hundredths of a second, but he's lost that almost immediately, Fakana. So he will slowly look to catch up to that Williams. P4, Dan, he will cement P4 like he's stuck in concrete. But up the back here we have a nice battle between Exported Monk and Reverse Tom. Reverse Tom going a little bit wide off the exit there of that corner. I'm not sure if Monk had a bit of a moment that made him drop a position to the sour, but nonetheless he will still pip Reverse Tom for P10 in the long run, as he does have a 9-second penalty. Just need to stay within 6 seconds to cancel his own 3-second penalty. Exported Monk in that Haas. So he's losing a little bit. He's losing a little bit of time to that Sauber. The Inter seemingly coming a little bit into play here now with Reverse Tom, as Exported Monk is on 10-lap-old wets as opposed to Tom's 5-lap-old Inters. I didn't see where he pitted as DeWald again getting another penalty. That's a third driver on 9 seconds worth of time penalties due to track limits. The only driver ahead of them is Hunter, but he hasn't got any track limit penalties as of yet. He's got the 10-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane. But he still will get P12 regardless. No one will let him by. It's a caution, Sector 3. I think that's Impulse or Fakana having a moment, as there is your final lap, and I didn't see it because I was too busy with everything else. Damien wins a very wet Catalonia Grand Prix. Impulse almost having a moment towards the final straight, as Fakana then with P3, 0.4 seconds off that Williams, so definitely had a moment there. Dan cementing P4 as he comes across the line. Drizzo here, he's got a Haas, I think that's Exported Monk behind him, who has been lapped. Drizzo now coming across the line to cement P5. We have a Deathly Venom in P6, Sparky P7. We have Sean in the Mercedes on P8, both Sauber drivers P9 and 10. Exporter Monk not quick enough to catch either of them, as he will cement himself P11. That's not a decent race from one Haas, but the other one, Damien, definitely having a race to remember, and Hunter just coming across the final corner here to give him a point on debut here in IRL Tier 2. He almost had a moment there. He did have a slip, but he will get P12 and a point to boot for the McLaren team. And there, ladies and gentlemen, is your standings for Tier 2 in Catalonia. Sugar Sean. That's a lot of words. Get your driver of the day for a P8 finish. Let's do now the podium celebration. Damien on the top step. The American flying high. What the fuck is a kilometer, he says to everyone else as the US national anthem blasts out for the Haas team. It's a great showing for Haas. Damien up the top step of the podium with Impulse in P2 and Fakana in P3 in the McLaren. 3 different constructors on the podium today. Will it be different next week? I'm not sure. I'm your commentator, GoldenSniper. I thank you for watching this stream today here on Intrepid Racing League Tier 2. Stay tuned for tomorrow with Tier 1 back in my hometown of Australia in Albert Park in Melbourne. I will be racing along as many other drivers such as Renato and previously mentioned Andrew, who again thank for hosting this session. I thank you all for watching this Spanish Grand Prix. Until next time.